In MCQ 5, we're going to deal with one of the more popular biological molecules, which is going to be enzyme. And in this case here, we are actually investigating what exactly is the function of the active site. So a little bit of the summary over here for the definition of enzyme. Enzymes are considered to be biological catalysts. Now on top of that, they are considered mostly, at least for the case of O level, to be protein in nature. So the sensitive site on the enzyme that has a very particular shape over here that I'm going to outline in red. This area is actually known as the active site. And this 2D drawing is actually not doing enzyme injustice because the active site actually has a very particular 3D conformation. And this specific 3D conformation of the active site actually dictates the kind of substrate that can actually enter. So only substrate that is considered to be complementary to the 3D conformation of the active site can actually enter. And once the substrate were to come into close proximity together with the active site itself, what we do get at this instant here is actually an intermediate product, and that intermediate product is known as your enzyme substrate complex. Now it is during this moment of formation of this enzyme substrate complex that it causes our activation energy of the reaction to drop, and it catalyzes reaction this way, making biological reaction much more efficient and faster in carrying out. Now, one thing to note here is that the active site remain unchanged during the entire process, is chemically unaltered so that it can actually be recycled. So that is also why the enzymes are also often only needed in small amounts because of their recyclability. So, which of the statements is considered correct? It definitely dictates for the specificity of the enzyme. The active site has that very specific 3D conformation that dictates for the taking in of substrate that only has a very specific complementary shape to it. Now, being used once is unlikely because it is actually chemically unaltered. It can be used again. But because of this very specific 3D conformation, enzyme is very sensitive to conditions such as pH as well as temperature, because all these external conditions can actually change the 3D conformation of the enzyme, which subsequently change the 3D conformation of the active site. So it's altered irreversibly by exposure to high temperature. This is a definite yes. This is another way of saying denaturation. And lastly, it lowers the activation energy needed. This is also the intended mechanism of how enzyme catalyzes your biological reaction. So 1, 3, and 4 is the correct answer over here. And the answer here is C.